If COTA had been around during this era of IMSA, you can bet they would have visited it. The list of tracks they went to in North America read like a greatest hits, so you can imagine the drivers jumping at the chance to come here. Thankfully, the virtual world lets us get a glimpse of what it would have been like as we get ready to watch round two of the IMSA Vintage series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Circuit of the Americas was the first purpose-built venue meant to attract F1 to the U.S. Let's get a closer look at it with our track guide. Welcome to Circuit of the Americas. The cliche of everything's bigger in Texas rings true for this track in the Lone Star State. Built specifically for Formula One, the number of corners, circuit length, safety features, and general track amenities immediately set this place apart from almost every racing course in the United States. Of the three layouts available, the most widely used is the Grand Prix circuit, which tops out at a whopping 20 turns along nearly 3.5 miles. Many of them have been modeled after well-known sections of European tracks such as Silverstone, Hockenheim, and Istanbul. But compared to those venues, this place still has lots of unique challenges. Turn 1 in particular features the largest elevation change from the lap and culminates in a blind and sharp hairpin. The penultimate corner is just as tough, with its off-camber apex and sudden drop forcing many to escape to the paved runoff on the outside. And though it was meant to lure F1, many other series have now raced here, ranging from IndyCar to WEC, IMSA, and even V8 supercars. Track days are also common, with the SCCA running all types of amateur events to allow up-and-coming drivers to feel what it's like to battle on the same tarmac as Vettel and Hamilton have. With this track, American race fans finally get to experience a purpose-built course made in the modern day. Texas went bigger and better, and in the process, raised the bar for their peers. Well, the drivers are just getting out on track now, so we'll go to them in a minute. But let's talk about this, well, no longer relatively new circuit, Adam. It's been around a bit.
Well, it is one of the newest purpose-built road course circuits in the U.S., and it has many communities in iRacing divided over whether they love or hate this track. The IMSA Vintage community, however, could care less about their own opinions of the circuit. If it's over 1.5 miles and has at least 30 pit stalls, IMSA Vintage will drive it. The Nissans, though, will feel right at home at Circuit of the Americas with this 3.4 mile or 3.43 mile or 5.52 kilometer 20 turn anti-clockwise circuit, and its many flowing high-speed corners, which lend itself to the immersive undertray, or rather the immense undertray and wedge wing downforce that's produced by the turbocharged Nissans. The Audis, on the other hand, will have yet another struggle to keep front tire temperatures under control as they lug their heavy boxcar around the many direction changes and elevation changes that threaten to throw them off course. Multiclass here is often perilous, with sectors 1 and 3 proving to be a nightmare for the passing class, as the slower class is entirely focused on hitting apexes and not at all looking in their mirrors. The long back straight and infield section, as it's lovingly called, are the best places to effect a pass, as the heavy braking zones and short stabs into sharp corners allow for many alternative lines to carry speed on exit for both classes. We've seen COTA in IMSA Vintage before, Joe, but never so early in the season, and never on an iRacing major event weekend. It'll be interesting to see who will show up, and more so, who will survive to the end.
Has looked like attendance is pretty decent here today, but before we look at that, we want to take a glance at the championship situation, which is a bit unusual because we've got Andres Valenteus leading. Now, that shouldn't seem unusual because he's very fast, but doesn't tend to show up to all the races. Because it was the first round, well, he's our points leader, taking the win over Alex Van de Sant, with Heroder rounding out the podium. Jack Wells with an excellent run there in fourth. And surprise, surprise, Yuko Leskala this season has decided to jump over to the GTPs. He's in them as well today, so watch out for him to see if he can be as dominant in these high downforce cars as he was over in the Audis. Speaking of the Audis, why don't we take a look at the GTO standings?
Absolutely. Well, with Phil Lake being gone for pretty much all of last year, and with Leskala and Valenteus over in the GTPs, it's freed up the GTO Championship to be in contention for the rest of the field. Joram van Hixie actually took home the win with a late last corner lunge on Noah Lundberg last week at Bathurst. And so Lundberg coming home in second position. Andreas Sliuba coming home in third last week over Sergey Grebin. And then Josh Brain just did not quite do his normal thing and unfortunately just finished in fifth today last week. Cam Porter made it into the top split last week, which put him in sixth position. And Francois Demeur is our first driver from second split, our winner in second split, coming in seventh position. Kundelis finished in eighth. And then we have Yuri Wickstrom and Alton Hark rounding out your top 10.
For today's race, it's going to be your typical sprint race for this series at 40 minutes in length. Open setup. You can imagine with some of the high-speed corners through the first part of this track, having a little bit of downforce could help, but then you'd be a sitting duck on the back straight. No spare car if you wind up with damage, but there's a lot of paved runoff here. In fact, this place kind of notorious for it, so that might keep drivers from needing that spare car. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a DQ at 25. Unfortunately, going to be a serious problem since the drivers have that paved runoff to escape to. You could easily start accruing those incident points over time. Now, in qualifying, does look like Eric Neath is actually on the top of our GTPs, interestingly. And Alex Van de Sant manages to put himself into second. Mickey Friesen, though, our leader down in the GTOs.
Absolutely, but take a look at the weather for a moment. Fully overcast, 66 air temp, 67 track temp. We've got a pretty good fog going on right now, but look at the winds. 22 miles an hour out of the north. That is a hefty wind. Even for the GTOs, they're going to be feeling that. But yeah, Jack David Spickett, JDS, jumps up to pole position, provisional pole position in the GTOs. And Joe, important to note that Noah Lundberg and Joran van Hixie are not here today in the GTOs. So last week's 1-2 in the GTOs not here. That's opening the door for other drivers.
Yeah, JDS looking very good. He needs a better result than what he had in Lotus 49s, where he had to start from the back of the field just earlier this morning. And looks like Doug Cloud going to put himself into third up there as we check out with Yuko Leskala. Now, I thought I saw him spinning off track. Yeah, and his first lap didn't count. So I wonder if this means Yuko also going to have to start from the back of his class up here in the prototypes, which certainly should be fun to watch. And yeah, man, he's only got 30 seconds here, Adam, so he can't get around.
Yeah, that's it for him. Looks like Heitor Sintes Galindo just crossed the line to finish his final lap, and he's the last one who could set a time. That puts him up into ninth. So Yuko Leskala just running around getting some practice laps in. Look how foggy it is. I mean, fortunately for the drivers, they don't have to look that far ahead, but my goodness, what a challenge it is for everyone today. And that wind, I swear, it's going to really be kicking these drivers, especially as they go on the brakes through some of the corners.
Yeah, definitely kind of weird that it's so foggy and so windy at the same time. Guess we'll need a little bit of different B-roll for conditions like this in the future, as Eric Neath is on the pole position in our GTPs, and Alex Van de Sant starts in second. Raul Guardia will be P3 as Michael de Turk returns and starts from fourth today. Dustin Heroder will be P5, followed by Timothy Reed on the outside in sixth. Javier Del Olmo, a little far down for him, starting P7. Laust Olsen starts eighth today as Heitor Sintes Galindo didn't get a great qualifying. He'll have to begin on the inside of row 5 next to Brennan Lim there in 10th. Then on the next slide, it is Dylan Freckleton in 11th. Martin Krejcik starts P12, and Ian Haycox over in the GTPs once again starts down in 13th. Eno Lewis will be in the 14th spot, and Nico G. Simmons, the last one to set a time in the GTPs, in 15th. Leskala, Roper, Cook, Delara, and Williams are all going to be starting from the back of our 20 GTPs.
Absolutely. And then we have 19 GTOs, starting with Jack David Spickett, who took provisional pole position. Mickey Friesen lining up next to him. Doug Cloud is going to line up in third position with Andreas Schuster next to him in fourth. Arturas Kundelis starts off at fifth spot, with Cam Porter lining up in sixth. A good qualifying for him. Thorben Pollock is going to line up in seventh, with David B. Lehman in eighth position. Jamie Himmel-Smith in ninth, and Franco Scurry joining us once again in the Audis, rounding out your top 10. 11th is going to be Romain Bello with Stefan Leslie next to him on row 6. Row 7 goes to David Gutierrez with Shady Ahmad next to him in 14th position. 15th is Yuri Wickstrom up here as after winning second split last week with Sam Skovsgaard in 16th spot. Row 9 is Francois Demers, and then we got Bjorn Ackerman on 18th position, and rounding out your 19 GTOs, it's going to be Pablo Rangel, and that is going to be 19 GTOs, 20 GTPs for 39 total starters today, Joe.
And as the drivers get ready to take off here on their pace lap, I do love the diversity that we have in this series. We go from 900 iRating all the way up to nearly 7,000 iRating, and it's in a single split, so you're going to have to deal with all different skill levels. And in the realm of Captain Obvious, it is a bit overcast today.
Yeah, very overcast, down to 19 miles per hour, but my goodness, what crazy weather we have for this race. I'm curious as to whether that's going to affect the drivers. They're going to be feeling it as a side force, actually. So a little bit of side drafting might actually speed you up down the straightaways. It's going to be interesting for sure to see who can pull out some decent passes and some decent speed here. But it's definitely going to be affecting the drivers with a headwind down to turn 1.
All right, so as the drivers work their way around through Turkey, getting ready to take the start of this race, Van de Sant usually is quick on his day, but Eric coming in to show that he can hold his own. Finished in 6th last time out, but this time he's going to be starting from the pole position. Will that make a difference out of there, especially with the tailwind coming up into turn 1 with the tires not yet up to temperature? Can he get through it without losing control of the car or without losing the lead? Pace car peels in, giving over to the number 11 out of Andretti and onto the main straight. Here we go. Van de Sant waiting patiently behind him, looking for that call as well. And there it is. Green flag is out. Alex gets jumped a bit, and it's Guardia who manages to take second away before they even get up to the braking zone. They're going to climb up the hill, hit the binders, try to come over the crest as they all swing around almost 3 wide in some spots. Looks like it is clean, and it is neat the way in the lead. Let's go to the GTOs.
Clean final turn for the GTOs. Jack with the stick again, off to a great launch, but then it's Doug Cloud and Mickey Freeze as Doug Cloud takes the lunge into turn 1, able to get through fairly cleanly, but Jack Davis Pick actually locked up the inside tires through turn 1, so that actually allows Doug Cloud to sneak in behind him. Looks like it's clean in the back of the field, except for Francois Demers, who had a little bit of a problem side by side with Franco Scurry dropping back in the field.
Glad to see we got through that. That first corner is notorious for causing problems, but everybody mind their P's and Q's, at least on this first lap. Weaving back and forth through the S's now. It's got to be so awful to feel the understeer in these Audis, trying to get them to turn in through this portion, especially before the tires are up to temperature. But they're going to climb the hill as we come back to Ian Haycox now, who is side by side with AJ Roper for 15th.
Absolutely. The Nissan's doing a good job of being mostly line astern here as they just try and figure out how this car is going to behave in these windy and foggy conditions. 100% humidity doesn't just affect your straight line speed and your visibility. It's also going to affect how the tires grip the surface, especially on cold tires right now, as we have a spinner off. Who is that? That looks like it's Bjorn Ackerman who's gone off, falling back to 19th in the GTOs. But a pass going on for 4th position in the GTPs between Dustin Herder and Michael DeTurk as we get under braking in the GTOs here. Jamie Hamill-Smith and Cam Porter battling it out.
Ooh, and heading up to Michael DeTurk. Again, haven't seen him in a while, but usually pretty fast out here. He's usually our stats man, and he is going to try and hold off Dustin Herroder now that he's managed to overtake him. Timothy Reed in behind him as well as we watch from the gearbox down at his rivals. Javier Del Olmo also close behind. And look at the variety of entries into the corner drivers take.
One of my favorite things about turn 1 here at COTA is that variety of entries that you can do in turn 1. Each of them are fast because of just the sheer absolute wacky turn radius of that corner. I believe it's 120 degrees. It's quite wild. And so different turning radius can actually provide you with the different opportunities to take the corner well. Looks like Thorben Pollock has gone around the GTOs out of the final corner. He's going to try and get that thing running once again. He's going to cross it in front of the rest of the field. Oh my goodness, that was Pablo Rangel who was able to avoid that incident. And Thorben's fortunately going to just lock the brakes, let everyone go by, and try and start to get going again.
Oof, yeah, I'm glad he left at least a little bit of a lane out there. He was far enough on the exit that drivers had a chance to try and avoid, and nobody was battling. Checking out J.J. Williams here, who is catching up to Fernando Delara and trying to see if he can make his way past to out of last place in the class. Meanwhile, on the opposite end, Van de Sant under threat. Guardia wants that spot back.
Sorry, big incident with Laust Olsen and Javier Del Olmo. Laust Olsen missed his braking point and piled straight into the back of Del Olmo, sending them both off.
So they fall well down to the back of that field. So unfortunately, turn 12 strikes in that case. Van de Sant getting himself just a bit more clear of Raul, at least at this stage. And coming out into the final corner now up to Andretti. You need a good exit out of here. He definitely needs to try and catch up to Neath. Doesn't want him to get away too easily before they start hitting traffic.
Absolutely, and traffic's going to be a ways out. This track is fairly long, but most importantly, it's got 20 turns involved, so lots of stuff going on there. We've had some incidents in the back of the GTOs as well, but we're going to take a look at this moment with Laust Olsen. You're going to see here, he's going to come into this corner and go very deep into the back of Javier Del Olmo. You'll see everyone starts braking, and Laust just misses it by about a quarter second, but that's all it takes.
And unfortunately, these cars are just a giant wedge. So as soon as he got underneath the other car, it scooped up the rear wheels. There was no saving that without traction to the back. As we come to Franco Scurry, very popular figure in the paddock here. He's going to try and battle with Shady Ahmad for 11th. And then right in front of them, Stefan Leslie, kind of making it a three-car battle.
Absolutely. So J.J. Williams into the pits as well as Laust Olsen, both of them with damage. But here we go at Franco Scurry. A good run on Shady. Is he going to take the late lunge? Is Shady Ahmad going to try and take it late on the outside? He could do a little bit of an over-under here and let Franco go by, but Shady's going to try and hang it around the outside. Right on board. Contact between the two of them. Shady Ahmad and Franco Scurry making contact there. Franco's going to come out with a little bit more of an overspeed on Shady Ahmad and take that position away.
Had to work for it a bit, but now that they fly through the S's, Scurry's got the position. Can he catch up to Leslie as well? They're going to head up the hill. This is a pretty steep climb up through 7, 8, and 9. Across the crest now. Oh, what a big slide from Scurry. Tries to save it, loses it twice, and into Ahmad. Both of them pile into the Armco, unfortunately. Oh, a bad start to this race. He was trying so hard to catch that thing. Shady also made a couple of moves back and forth, trying to figure out which way is this car to go.
Back up to the battle for P2 between Doug Cloud and Mickey Friesen. Doug Cloud diving into the inside on a defensive move. Friesen looking very quick on Cloud, but we know how strong of a defender Doug is over the last 2 seasons. He's been able to defend positions for the top 5 for quite a while, and he's hanging on to Jack David Spickett up in front of him. Well, look at this, Doug, a little bit deep through that corner. Friesen, with a better exit, could try and make a move, but it's so challenging in these Audis with these medium speed corners. It's just so hard to hold that car down and to keep that left front tire from burning up.
Doug, honestly doing excellent out here today. Usually a driver that's, maybe fighting for a top 5, but he's within a second of the lead. Jack David Spickett up the road from him. Probably more concerned about Mickey Friesen filling those mirrors right now as they come back onto the main straight and get ready to climb the hill. Mickey could try a dive if he wants it. He's close enough. He's going to think about it. And under braking, looks like he can't quite get there.
No, he thought about it. He took the peak to try and make Doug make a mistake, but at a turn 1, there's just so many opportunities for different braking lines. So Doug could just run his line and force Mickey to back out of it. And that's exactly what happened.
So plenty more in this race left to go. Romain Bello, in the meantime, back here a little farther in 9th position. Actually just ahead of Stefan Leslie, who we were watching earlier. He's also got David Lamont in front of him. And Jamie Hamill-Smith, a longtime racer in this series, veteran really. And the French driver just going to try and stick to that rear bumper for the time being. Oh, he slides a little wide, though, coming through 9.
Yeah, so that's going to put him on his back foot. That's going to allow Lehman to have a good opportunity at Jamie Hamill-Smith. on this straightaway as long as he can get a good exit. Jamie Hamill-Smith, yeah, look at that. He's going to take a late apex, Jamie Hamill-Smith is, to try and get a good run on Lehman, and he does. Bello's going to have the best run of them all, but I think Jamie Hamill-Smith's going to have an opportunity to pass if he can stay in line. Here he comes with that overspeed. Is he going to take the opportunity to make the dive? He's looking for it. Here he goes.
Down to the inside, going to try to take that 7th place away. He gets to the apex first, denies him that. That'll slide him wide a little bit, but a good exit from Jamie Hamill-Smith will keep his nose ahead. Could see a cutback here from the number 26. Not quite successful, though. Once again, good defense there from Jamie Hamill-Smith.
Absolutely. Good drives from all the GTO top 10 right now as they're all just duking it out with each other. I can report that Timothy Reed up in the GTPs trying to make a move on Dustin Roeder, and we're seeing this right here with Javier Del Olmo just trying to recover from that incident that he had with Laust Olsen. And our GTPs starting to get into the back markers of the GTOs.
I was noticing that too, that the leaders have caught them now, but hasn't put them closer together, although this is looking very close. Del Olmo sizing him up, gets down to the inside of turn 12, has to use his elbows a little bit, and Simmons is not going to give it up easily because of that. He keeps his nose in down through turn 13 as it switches into the stadium section now, and it flows back and forth between these hairpins, this time in favor of Del Olmo, who gets on the throttle a little too hot, and there goes that battle.
Yeah, a little bit of damage for Del Olmo as well is causing him to have a little bit of instability in that machine, so he's having to do some extra work right now to try and get past Simmons. I'm sure it's frustrating him a lot.
So I have to do that work all over again. Thought he was going to get that move, but he's sticking with it. Should get another opportunity here soon as we check back in with Friesen, still fighting with Cloud. They mess around too much. Kundelis is right behind them. And then, of course, we've been following this fight between Lamont and Hamill-Smith off of the corner. Ooh, bad exit there from the number 26. Here comes Romain Bello looking for an opportunity.
Yeah, but unfortunately, he's not the one in the draft of Cam Porter up ahead of them. So Bello trying to, or rather Jamie Hamill-Smith up ahead. So Lehman losing that time to Jamie Hamill-Smith. But unfortunately for Lehman, he's going to have to go around the outside. And look at that. Bello just breaks a little bit early and absolutely just predicts that Lehman's going to overburn the corner and gets past.
Something's happened to our leader. He's now down in almost 3rd place, and a car slides wide. That is going to be Van de Sant. So Neath is back up to the lead, and Guardia now finds himself with a chance to get back to that 2nd place. I'm not sure what kicked that off, but suddenly I looked over and Alex was side by side with him.
It was traffic. Eric Neath, our leader, ran into the back of Pablo Rangel in the GTOs, and actually that sent him into a bad opportunity down the long back straight, which gave an opportunity to Van der Sant, and Van der Sant just overcooked it into the corner and gave Neath back that position. 2.2 seconds separates them.
Remember what I said at the start of the show, 17 incidents and you get a drive-through penalty. And around 40 minutes, that's still going to be a bit of a challenge if you're pushing hard, especially in this series where you kind of have to take those alternate lines and could easily slip up outside of the track boundaries. I think maybe Brendan Lim had a problem as he lost a couple spots himself just now as Van de Sant comes across the crest and overtakes more of our lapped GTOs, setting his sights forward to Neath once again.
This is where things are going to get spicy for our GTP leaders. When they're catching these GTOs through this first sector, the GTOs are not looking at all for the GTPs. They're just trying to hit their lines and expecting the GTPs to navigate around them. We're riding on board with our leader, Eric Neath, as he's stuck behind Stefan Leslie. He probably lost about a second right there, just stuck in behind Leslie. But remember, traffic giveth the traffic taketh away. It makes more sense to be patient right now with these GTOs and try and push it and make contact and lose time.
And this will be a good spot for him too, coming off the corner. He's got a whole line of them that he should be able to mostly overtake as long as he gets up to speed quickly. These GTOs can be fast in a straight line once they get completely spooled up, but yep, he gets all 3 of them. Now he's got a clear gap by the time he gets into the technical stadium section.
P2's spicy though right now between Van de Sant, Guardia, and Michael de Turk. De Turk's been able to claw his way up to the back of Guardia for the last spot on the rostrum, but Turk now stuck in behind a little bit of traffic as we're looking at Guardia as he's trying to navigate his way through. This is all through the top 10 in the GTOs. All fast drivers, all regulars, as Guardia gets pushed off by Bello trying to make his exit work.
This is a series that has such a distinct interaction between the two cars. It's unique, and you have to have the practice to be able to understand and anticipate how their dynamic will work with one another. That's why you often see these veterans be able to really pick them off in traffic. We had a car heading into pit lane. That's going to be Timothy Reed.
I think Timothy Reed had contact with the GTO earlier on, so that's why he's going into the pits. But it's important to remember, Joe, that the speed difference between these cars is 12 seconds in this race. So that's the delta of lap time between these cars. We have Raul Guardia get cut off by GTO, so we're looking at our number one driver, that's Yuko Leskala, trying to make a pass on, rather hold off Brendan Lim, who had that spin earlier that you talked about. And it's just chaos right now with all these GTPs trying to cut through our top 5 of the GTOs now through the twistiest section of the course.
Yeah, Leskala up 8 positions from where he started already, and we're about 15 minutes into this race. Also, Reed got into Stefan Leslie, it looks like, coming through the long triple right-hander. Back up to Van de Sant. He has caught him once again. That experience of Van de Sant certainly starting to show through.
Absolutely, Eric Neath, very quick. But Van de Sant has the experience on the multi-class. He gets onto the curb. It slides him a bit, but he's going to be able to readjust his line and stay in with Eric Neath. Neath is going to have to pass our leader in the GTOs, Jack David Spick, and take away his apex. That's going to push him way wide. This is going to hold up JDS as he's in his own battle with Doug Cloud right now. But fortunately, they're both able to get by just fine. I'm going to expect Neath to try and run away a little bit again.
I have to say, I'm massively impressed that Alex was able to slow that car down on the AstroTurf on the outside of the braking for 12. I thought he was going to shoot way wide, but somehow he got it woed up and made the corner just fine. You know, Lewis, in the meantime, fighting with Martin Krejcik. This is for 11th, and they're coming up on another slew of GTOs.
Oh, Krejcik gets hauled up there by David B. Lehman, so this is going to allow Lewis to try and get a position. Wow, Harvard almost going to stick his nose up the inside of Lewis, force him to take 17 wide, but fortunately able to hold it off. These drivers being very aggressive right now, as we see Ian Haycox take a late braking moment into the final corner. These GTPs see opportunities here. They've got a bloodlust right now.
Indeed, Ian Haycox enjoying the extra braking that the Nissan offers him. In comparison, 3 cars, 4 cars, 5 are all going to wind up clattering into one another through turn 1. And actually, it was Ian Haycox who picks up the pieces along with Krejcik.
Absolutely. So Ian Haycox able to sneak his way through and get up into 12th position. And this does break up a couple of our battles down there in the bottom 10 positions in the GTPs. But up further in 7th position, Freckleton trying to hold off Yuko Leskala, trying to hold off Brendan Lim. We're looking right now at that battle as Leskala's going to try and go to the inside there of Freckleton. He's going to go late on the brakes. This gives an opportunity for Brendan Lim to stick his nose in. Leskala sliding the tires off the corner is going to give an opportunity to Freckleton on the straight.
Oh, something's happened to Van de Sant too. And in fact, Van de Sant is off the course right now trying to get the car going. This is Michael de Turk. Was it involved with him? Because he looks out of sorts.
No, this is Thorben Pollock. Thorben Pollock made contact with Van de Sant. Van de Sant was on the brakes, and Thorben Pollock missed his braking zone once again into 12. Oh my goodness, just lots of mistakes here going on today, Joe.
Oof. The mist of confusion, unfortunately, a bit today, as we're going to watch the replay for Alex. This is how he loses second place, falls down to 6th, coming into the braking zone, just kind of innocent. Oh, and he ruins our 007 cam.
And we just had a wreck between Dylan Freckleton and Yuko Leskala as well, as they were going through Sector 1. Freckleton getting into the back of Leskala, then Lim getting into the back of Freckleton. My goodness, Joe.
Everybody's got to calm down for a second here. We still got half the race left to go. Freckleton down to 12th. Leskala carries on in 9th. I'm guessing we're going to be seeing the replay on this one. There's the 2 of them. That is Dylan in the light-colored car, and in the green and orange is Leskala, and Lim just kind of finishing off Dylan.
And now Jamie Hamill-Smith has had a problem with GTOs shows this one was a separate incident with a GTP. It looks like that was Timothy Reed who clipped the inside of him. So unfortunate for those drivers. Timothy Reed looks like he's going to park it. As we're riding on board with Nico Leskola right now, as he's trying to battle it out with AJ Roper.
Ooh, trying to get clever, going wide, and it doesn't work. No grip there for Yuko Leskola, the multi-time GTO champion, trying out the GTPs to see if he can be as quick. Unfortunately, things haven't really been going to plan up to this stage. And in fact, where did he finish? He finished 5th last time out at Bathurst,
no!
and in fact, he spun out of turn 11.
Fortunately, he didn't hit anything, but yeah, when you're used to the Audi and the fact that it's got four-wheel drive, you can just plant your foot off of the corner. When things get spicy and you're in this new class, oftentimes you can fall back into old habits, and that old habit, unfortunately, punishes you.
Yeah, got to be so careful on the throttle in these cars. DeTurk currently still in 4th position, trying his best to stay out of everybody's way and just bring this one home. He has been chasing Dustin Heroder in front of him, though, and is doing his best to see if he can kind of keep him honest. I also want to give a shout out to Timothy Reed for his sense of sportsmanship. He apologized, described himself as a wrecking ball today, unfortunately. So I at least see him putting his hand up, which is always great to see a driver kind of admitting mistakes. Is Yuko still looking a little slippery out here?
I do want to state that I found the incident that caused Michael DeTurk to be frustrated after the incident that we saw with the GTOs. Oh, and who's this? That's Arturas Kundlis.
I think that's up at turn 1. No, this is I think through the S's.
No, this is at 17.
Oh, it is, yeah. And he got taken out. That was Nico Simmons, unfortunately.
My goodness. Well, after a week of the GTPs making some great decisions last week at Bathurst, where we expect them to struggle, it looks like we're having the opposite effect here today.
I was going to say, sometimes I feel like these races go the reverse of what you'd expect because...
Oh, that is a send and a half.
Yeah, that was not going to work at all. But the tracks where everybody's on their guard, yeah, they're going to tiptoe and try and play nice. This one, it's wide open. The walls are miles away from them, so I wonder if that's just kind of removed the discretion part of today's decisions.
Important reminder is that the Audis can't really do anything once they start braking. At that point, they're committed to wherever they're going, and there's not much else they can do. So even though you as a GTP might have an opportunity to adjust your line under braking, the Audis do not. They're locked in. So if you're going to send it, expect them to end up where they're aimed at any given time.
Exactly. Delara down in 14th here, fighting for position in the GTPs. This is going to be with Luis just in front of him as they have to navigate Spigot.
Arnold Koch deciding to take opportunity of that from Simmons as well. Delara, no relation to the car manufacturer, as he slides off wide. So does Koch. Koch's going to recover that and able to sneak his way to the inside. These are 3 very damaged, well, I guess I should say Simmons is a very damaged race car. More contact between them as Simmons gets pushed off.
So hard to control this car in the slow corners, we have to remember as well. They're used to high speeds with all the downforce, and Delara, just as we cut away from him, slipped out, giving Simmons that spot back. Now up to Friesen here in 3rd place. This is in those GTOs, chasing on Doug Cloud as he has been for much of the race. Jack David Spigot, I wouldn't say is running away with it, but he's got a gap of about 2 seconds right now. And if these two start squabbling, that could easily increase.
The 3rd car, the one that they just went by, the 32 machine, is Thorben Pollock. He's a lap down, so that is no factor for this battle as Friesen gets a little bit disadvantaged by Pollock being on the outside of turn 1. But yeah, I mean, Doug Cloud still able to hold on to that 2nd position, and the traffic has really taketh away from Doug up to this point. We'll see whether that's the case as our GTP leaders start to come through the pack again. They're about half a lap away, so I'd expect them to come through probably in about 7 to 8 minutes time.
Checking my stats real quick to see how many podiums we've gotten from Doug Cloud over the years. I'm pretty sure he's had a few. I think we've been mostly waiting on his first victory, but we check back in with Sintez Galindo in the meantime. This is going to be the battle for fourth with Michael de Turk. So de Turk has gone from attack on Dustin to suddenly defense on Aitor.
Yeah, and this happens with the traffic, absolutely. And the Turk just unfortunately caught up to some Audis at a bad time going through the final third sector, and that's what dropped him back to Santos Galindo. He lost 2 seconds up to Dustin Herroder just in that last sector alone. And so no surprise to see de Turk a little bit on the back foot, but he's very good at this opening section when he's got no traffic.
This is strange. I didn't think this was... Oh, wait. No, I'm looking at the GTP stats. I was like, I don't see any podiums for Doug Cloud, and I don't think that's correct. I need to go over a tab, apparently, as we continue to watch on Aitor. Still staying glued to the back of Michael de Turk, now down to the final 15 minutes of this race. This is such an important corner exit here, coming out of 11.
Absolutely. I want to report that Friesen's still on the back of Doug Cloud right now as they go onto the front straightaway. So Friesen's been on the back of Doug Cloud for quite a while, but look at this. Santos Galindo with a good run on de Turk. I wonder if de Turk has any damage or whether he just took a little bit more wing to try and manage the low-speed corners that are around here at COTA. At COTA, this sector particularly can be really challenging if you're running a low downforce setup, so some high downforce work can really be helpful. As we take a look at Friesen once again, just on the back of Doug Cloud as they go through this first sector that's so challenging in the Audi.
And I can report that it's been 6 podiums, it looks like, for Doug Cloud up to this point, but not a win yet in these GTOs. Still looking to try and break that duck. Of course, if something happens to Spickett, he's absolutely in the position to pick that up and try to run with the ball to the end zone and take that first victory. But he'll have to try and continue to play defense on Mickey Friesen the way that he has just not allowed him to stay out of his sight.
Yeah, and just to report that that Jack David Spickett has had good 5/10 on Doug Cloud the last 2 laps, just as far as raw speed is concerned. So starting to pull away a bit.
Coming down towards the braking, Mickey showing himself a little bit in the mirrors, and a lock up in front of them as Doug Cloud is just pushing the car to the limits. You can do that from time to time. In fact, it's not too uncommon to see it in this Audi.
No, not at all. And quite frankly, it's a real challenge for these drivers to tackle it through this middle sector. This is a little bit more better served for the Audi than the rest of the sectors for sure. But Friesen really starting to hound Doug Cloud a little bit. We know Doug can get his elbows out. That's going to be, oh my goodness, that was Fernando Delara who almost spun out into Doug Cloud.
Thankfully, he's going to leave them be now, and they can continue on. Mickey's looking very close. Here we go, coming up through the final corner out of Andretti into Big Red. He gets a very good launch. He is right behind him now. Does he try and get aggressive into the first corner, into the braking? It looks like Doug's going to defend into there. Sometimes, though, you can do it around the outside with a cutback. Not going to be the case this time. Even still, Mickey is just about on the quarter panel as he dives into turn 2. No, he's going to be denied.
Great defense from Doug to just cut off that line, force Mickey Friesen onto the rumble strip, which is forcing him to back out of it. Great job from Mickey Friesen there to try and put the challenge to Doug, but unfortunately, Doug, pretty wily.
Yeah, he's been around a long time now at this stage, so he knows what he's doing. So Mickey's been around for a bit too, just I don't think quite as long. As we come back to Del Olmo, and unfortunately not performing the heroics we've seen in the past for him. This is only going to be a fight to get out of last car on the lead lap in the GTPs.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately for Del Olmo, after a really poor season last season, looks like it's not starting off well for him this season either. I don't want to say that championship was a fluke, but it's really challenging to see him this far down, unfortunately.
Yeah, we know he's a quick driver, and especially in the GTOs. We were a bit surprised that he was able to translate into that into being the only person now to have both a GTO and GTP championship, and on top of that, did them in back-to-back seasons. He's going to have to try and reinforce that reputation that he's developed now that he's no longer the reigning champion this time around, and he's still trying to see if he can go by Simmons, who's going to hold off to the right-hand side, looking for the brake markers through the thick of the fog. And as they come down to it, actually, Simmons is deeper on the binders, and he's going to hold the spot.
Yeah, great move there from Javier Delmo to try and make that move, but unfortunately, he couldn't quite get there. Javier Delmo still trying to make the move on the inside. Tight stuff as he tries to make now the outside work as he swings around there.
Oh, and some wheel spin will put pay to Nico. So now Javier gets up to 15th with that little move. Nicely done by the number 7 car. Back up to Turk. Aitor has gotten by. Was that just recent, actually?
Yeah, it was recent. The Turk locked up the tires going into the final turn as he tried to pass Romain Bello, and unfortunately just lost the car just a tiny bit there as the Turk trying to recover now, sandwiched between Bello and Lehman, who are battling for position.
And I got to say that is classic Aitor right there. He isn't known for his all-out speed, but he's a smart and he's a safe driver. And well, he just read the situation right. And Michael, who himself is actually an incredibly smart driver, just unfortunately was caught out. So the number 10 going to move himself up into 4th, relatively close to a potential podium too.
Yeah, absolutely. So Santos Galindo just having a good recovery drive after having some incidents early, doing a good job pushing himself up forward.
He's less than a second behind, or was less than a second behind Hirota. Looks like maybe traffic slowed him up a little bit there. Have not seen any of this fog start to go away. It can start to dissipate if you get some sunshine to kind of burn it off here in the sim, just like in real life. But with it being so cloudy, it has stayed put how it has been, and on top of it, it's still very windy and cool.
Absolutely, we do have a rising barometer, so that should allow for the temperature to warm up a tiny bit, but it hasn't at all. In fact, the air temperature has gone down 1 degree since we started, down to 66. So I don't think this fog's going to go anywhere in the last 10 minutes of this race, but look at this, Friesen with a good exit off of the final corner. Is he going to try another challenge on Doug Cloud?
That forecast is saying the fog won't go away until another hour from now, so definitely won't see it dissipate during this broadcast. Mickey, can he use this as a pick? He's to the inside, coming through the corner. That's going to get him side by side, but unfortunately does not have the launch.
I think Friesen knew what I was thinking in the back of my head, which is Doug's not going to give this up easy. He's going to push me hard into this corner. And Mickey knew that if he was going to run side by side with Doug Cloud through that corner, Doug was going to push him out wide. So I think Mickey Friesen thought, you know what, I'll have another opportunity. I'm going to play it safe, not cause any contact, and drop in behind.
Much like the headband implies, a good 80s montage of pushing it to the limit here for Doug Cloud is behind him. Mickey Friesen almost got edged off.
Sorry, Raul Guardia and Hirota are side by side as they go past Doug Cloud. Right now, Doug trying to go to the apex and cuts off Hirota. That's going to spin him around.
Oh, it was such a good race for him up to that point. Mickey easily going to move into there. Look at him frantically try to get it into reverse and back rolling. The disappointment on his face says everything.
Yeah, unfortunately, he went straight to the apex in between those two GTPs who are battling for second position. This has allowed Aitor Santos Galindo to pass Hirota. They're side by side now as they go into the middle sector. This is for the last spot on the rostrum. They're going to duke this out, and Michael DeTurk looking on with an opportunity.
He's going to hold on to him. He'll have the inside and almost 3 wide down into the hairpin of the stadium. Still, it carries on. Inside switches back to Aitor. Hirota can't do much to hold him back. Now he's got to maybe play defense on the Turk. No, he is going on the attack. Much better run out of the corner with a cutback round the outside of the penultimate turn. How did he make that move stick? And another one goes away just as quickly as DeTurk also takes advantage.
That was one of the most savvy high downforce moves I've ever seen, but look at this DeTurk. He doesn't have the straight line speed. Santos Galindo's going to try and get him on the outside of turn 1 as they go up under braking. DeTurk has the better line, but the outside usually feeds into a better exit for high downforce machines. And here we go, Santos Galindo retains 4th position.
Wow, that might be the move of the race for me from Hirota there to get him back onto the podium. That was gutsy and well-timed stuff. as Heitor Sentes Galindo has to regroup, see if he can catch back up to him and get into that podium position before this is over. Less than 8 minutes to go now.
Unfortunately, looks like Lesko's in the pits. We'll have to take a look at why, but Turk with a good run, he might try and take a stab before they get to the straightaway. He looks to the inside. Sentes Galindo doesn't bite. Look at this, Sentes Galindo backing up the corner to make sure he gets a good exit, and he did. He should hold off to Turk on the straight.
Also bad news for fans of Jukka Leskola. He just had to serve a drive-through penalty for too many incident points, so that'll send him back to 11th. Watching from Heitor on Michael de Turk. The stats man still in the top 5, but down 1 from where he started this race. The good news for them is Van de Sant's problems earlier has put him way behind them. It's about 12 seconds difference.
Yeah, the bad news for de Turk, though, is there's not much more traffic to cause chaos for them. They've got 14th position Bjorn Ackerman and 13th position Francois Demers. I think that's all they're going to get before the end of this race in 7 minutes time. So the Turk has to do this all on raw pace and challenge.
We saw Neath there. Well, he's still on screen, actually. He's got a gap of about 5 seconds now with 6 minutes left to go. Crosses the line once again, maybe about 3 laps left for our drivers, and then we are done. Maybe 4, actually. And we'll see if he can keep this up. Guardia has not been close enough up to this stage. What about Jack David Spickett? Similar gap, actually. 6 seconds between himself and now Mickey Friesen instead of Cloud.
Absolutely. So Mickey Friesen trying to make his way forward as well. Looking at Jack David Spickett as he's our leader in the GTOs. As you said, 6 seconds back to Friesen. And Friesen instead of Cloud. Schuster still 6 seconds back as well with 3.5 seconds back to Doug Cloud. Our closest battle in the GTOs is actually between 6th position David Lehman, Romain Bello, and David Gutierrez down there battling for 6th.
Yeah, Gutierrez started in 13th place here, currently up to 8th. Could maybe think about a top 5, although that is a distant hope because I think Cam Porter is a little far ahead of Lehman right now as the French driver follows them up through that opening apex, trying to spot that difficult blind apex through turn 1. I mean, my goodness, it's hard in normal conditions. Even in the fog, it probably makes it even more difficult.
Absolutely. It's super challenging in the fog. That it's just very challenging for those drivers to try and make their way through these challenging conditions, especially the wind. The wind is the hardest challenge for these drivers to try and slide their way around. So I think that's why we're seeing so many mistakes and incidents, because the wind can add or subtract around 100 feet of your braking distance if you're not careful. So these drivers having to be very cautious when under braking.
Especially with such a stiff wind as well out there blowing this hard. We were kind of shocked at the numbers that we were seeing on the way loading in. But Bello, as great as he was coming off of turn 11, doesn't look like this is going to be enough to try and attack on Lehman down into turn 12, one of the more popular places to try and overtake at this track. Our leader now down to less than 5 minutes to go. And I'm kind of surprised. I think I've only seen 2 drivers get black flags so far. I mentioned about Leskola. I think Thorben Paulik, the only other one I've seen having to come and serve a drive-through.
Yeah, absolutely. So David Gutierrez trying to push his way forward as he's looking to challenge Romain Bello and David B. Lehman as they're closing in on the closing moments of this race. 4 minutes to go, so that should be about 3 laps for Eric Neath, I think, Joe?
Yep, that sounds about right. Try and wrap this one up. Eric certainly looking like he's another one to watch out for. Again, unfortunately, I wasn't here for Bathurst, and his results don't say anything spectacular with that 6th place, but today it's been just a well-managed race and basically started it from pole and didn't look back.
Absolutely, and JDS, honestly, this is the kind of race that he's been looking for quite a while. 5 seconds now between himself and Friesen, so a good race so far.
I believe this is going to be Jack's first win here in the series. I don't think we've seen him take victory in either class up to this stage. And yes, we're missing a few of our very quick drivers up at the front. Oh, and That was a little bit of an awkward moment between Eric and Enol. Again, going back to what we always say in multiclass, drive your line and let them pass you.
Absolutely, and you don't want to just adjust your line on your own as they try and go by. That way, it just leads to unpredictability, and unpredictability leads to the driver's the driver that you're getting passed by to be tentative, and then at that point you can't predict what the driver getting passed by is going to do either. So you need to be very careful as you take your drive going forward, that you are very predictable in your lines if you're getting passed.
Yeah, don't be afraid out there. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. We know where hate leads to. So as we check out with Jack David Spickett once again, still holding on to a healthy 5-second lead up at the front of the GTOs. Friesen may have gotten into second, but just was a little too late, I think, to try and chase down JDS to steal the win away on this one. And poor Doug Cloud, again, I feel for that guy because he's not even on the podium now after that one. Schuster managed to get by him.
Yeah, unfortunately for Doug, just got stuck up in the sidewall and having to push himself out of there, reverse himself out of there, put him back down into 4th position. So he doesn't really have any time to make a pass either. Looking at other battles throughout, looks like Aitor Sentes Galindo might have an opportunity at a podium on the back of Dustin Roeder, just about 1.1 seconds behind at the moment.
So Eric Neath now coming around on the last couple corners. White flag going to be coming out. He's got a lot of traffic in front of him, though, as Skovgaard going to stay out of the way, and he weaves to the inside. Yuko Leskala now with Ian Haycox just in front of him. Ian used to battling him down in the GTOs. They both switched classes, but unfortunately for Ian, looks like he's still not quite as quick as Yuko, even with the extra downforce.
Absolutely. So Yuko getting his way by Ian Haycox. Ian just a little bit struggling today. Yuko struggling as well with that drive-through. So two drivers kind of on a recovery drive right now as they're trying to claw their way forward. But yeah, taking a look around, one of our closest battles is actually still between Romain Bello and David Gutierrez down in 7th position. And there we see a very unfortunately stricken Laust Olsen, 4 laps off of our GTO leaders. So really struggling today.
Yeah, it's not been a race to write home about for Laust Olsen. Maybe another day you can get a better result. He's been on and off as of late in terms of where the luck puts him. He knows that his fight is not with the leader, so he's going to pull off to the side as we ride on board with Eric for the last portion of this race. And coming down into the last time through turn 12, now things really slow up through the stadium section, back and forth through here. Try not to get on the throttle too quickly. With all the power underneath these cars, they get a little ungainly in this section of the track. Does have the turbo to help you pick up speed, but that also can catch you out if you're not careful. Then it's through the triple right-hander and 2 more turns to go. Both of them kind of difficult in their own right. As he approaches the last corner out of Andretti and to the line, Eric Neath is going to win here at Circuit of the Americas.
And a great win it is for Eric as he crosses the line and wins, honestly, a very commanding race for sure. Jack David Spickett, however, is just coming through the final corner now as Raul Guardia finishes in 2nd position. But here is JDS coming out, not in the final corner. I spoke incorrectly. He's down the back straight.
I was going to say it's difficult to spot some of the corners now in this because all of our reference points of the surrounding stuff is a little bit wonky here. So JDS still has a little bit to go. Friesen in behind him is going to finish on the same lap, so he can't throw it away quite yet. But like I said, it's looking pretty good. Great finish for Roeder, half a second off of getting 2nd place from Guardia up there in the GTPs. Aitor and Michael with a great battle as well today. Don't forget about Cam Porter. I got to say, this is an excellent finish for the 22, getting a top 5.
Yeah, Cam Porter, we haven't talked about him at all this race really, but he's done an excellent job today. He's just hanging out there down in 5th position, 6 seconds over David Lehman, who struggled a little bit. But now we have JDS coming through the final corner. He's going to take the exit and win here at Circuit of the Americas. A very good win from JDS today.
His maiden win, as far as we can tell, here in the IMSA Vintage Series. So with that, I believe we're going to take a very short break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Circuit of the Americas, round 2 in the IMSA Vintage Series. Sees Eric Neath take his first win of the series on the broadcast races. Guardia going to be second behind him, with Heroder rounding out your podium. Sintez Galindo got fourth today. He was in a huge battle with Heroder and Turk. Turk was fifth behind him. Van de Sant in P6 after starting on the front row. He's going to be frustrated about that. Brennan Lim was P7 as AJ Roper climbed from 17th to 8th, failing to set a qualifying time. Dylan Freckleton, P9 for him. Yuko Leskala also didn't set a qualifying time, only went from 16th to 10th. Ian Haycox was 11th as Arnold Cook wound up 12th, and Martin Krejcik 13th, first car lap down. Eno Lewis was 14th, Javier Del Olmo 15th, and Nico Simmons was P16. Olsen, Delara, Reed, and Williams all had issues out there today. What about the GTOs, Adam?
Yeah, Jack David Spickett came home with the win today over Mickey Friesen and Andreas Schuster, who finished in third position after taking that position away from Doug Cloud, who spun out after making contact with some of our leaders in the GTPs. Cam Porter coming home with a top 5 and top split today. A great race for him, even though we didn't talk about him that much. David B. Lehman, unfortunately having a couple of issues, fell back down to 6th position today with Romain Bello in 7th. David Gutierrez finishing in 8th position and Stefan Leslie in 9th. Sam Skosgard grabs the top 10 today with Pablo Rangel in 11th position. Jerry Wickstrom doing a good job today in 12th spot with Francois Demers in 13th. Bjorn Ackerman finishing in 14th position. 2 laps down is Jamie Hamill-Smith with Thorben Pollock 3 laps down. Shady Ahmad, Arturas Kundalis, and Franco Scurry all had problems.
It looks like we've got Cam Porter ready to talk to us today. So since he didn't get much screen time, why don't we have a little chat to see how his race went? Cam, you know, I know you're not shy of getting on the camera, but today we didn't show a lot of you. And I'd say that maybe that was a good thing because it was just a quiet run to 5th.
It was after the first couple of laps. Yeah, it was just really quiet, unfortunately. Kind of boring out there until the Nissans came through. Luckily, I was not, the Nissans got me in good places, and they all made some good choices. So I lucked out. Fortunately, Arturas, who was just ahead of me, did not get lucky. And he was in some trouble. Yeah, and I had accidentally hit Thorben Pollock at one point on the first lap, I think, going into the braking zone at the end of the back straight, and that's why my front end was damaged. So apologies to him. Thankfully, he wasn't too affected. He just had he went a little bit wide on the runoff and just kept going. Unfortunately, he spun himself at the end of the lap. But I'm thrilled with the result, though. Top 5, very happy with that, even though it was kind of a quiet race.
And what about this weather? Suddenly, Texas has turned into London today. What was the experience like in the fog?
I don't know. I think it probably affected the track conditions. I'm sure some of the guys that do way more practice than me could tell you how it affects the track. But, I expected to be not racing today because my team was racing in the Sebring 12. Unfortunately, we had some trouble early on and we decided to throw in the towel. Our team struggled in the Sebring 12 today. But that means I could race IMSA Vintage. It's always a good time. And I'm glad I did because of this great result.
Yeah, we were certainly impressed with your racing out there today. Congratulations on the top 5 and best of luck next week at the new track of Portimao.
Thanks, guys. Looking forward to the new track.
I am as well. It certainly looks like a lot of fun. And after Cam Porter, we've also got 4th place finisher Aitor Sintez Galindo. Adam has caught up with him.
Yeah, Aitor, nice to see you up in the booth again. 4th position today after a gain of 5 on the track. Challenging conditions today and challenging traffic today as well. What are your thoughts about the race?
Absolutely, yeah. It's been quite a race, if I'm honest. Amazing battles all around with the traffic and all. And again, as clean as IMSA Vintage can get, it's always a pleasure to drive on this series. It's been quite a good result. If I'm honest, I didn't expect much, but with the qualifying, I was like, oof, one of those days. But yeah. No mistakes, good fighting, good chunk of points, pretty good satisfying result, if I'm honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Next week we head to Portimao, which is a new track for this series. What are your thoughts heading into that race, and have you gotten any practice laps in yet?
Oof, I will just forgot that I haven't bought the track yet. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna be honest. So, it's one of those tracks like I would say like Mugello, with all the sweeping corners and then the ups and downs. I think it will be quite interesting to drive, and I think it's wide as well. I mean, the WC races in there has no problem, so I'm looking forward actually. Again, I have to buy the track, but I will do it next week, so no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And this season started out with Bathurst, then Dakota, then to Portimao. Honestly, it's kind of cool to see these tracks that I remember when the series started, we were running a lot of American tracks, and now it's kind of a smattering across the world. How has the balance felt for you as far as tracks over the last couple of seasons, and what are you looking forward to this season?
Well, it's a good question now you said, because I remember when I was 4 years ago, we were driving at Summit Point, Limebrook Park, and those tracks were quite interesting to say the least. But thanks to Jody Geisen, if you're watching, for the amazing reworking on the schedules and everything, and make it very varied and always some tracks to spice things up, like I don't know. I think we're going to North Life this season. I think the schedule in particular is amazing. Kudos to Jujuri for that. And looking forward to this season, because I think it's a lot of again, the competitor last season hasn't moved, again, if I have a nice battle like this, I'm gonna have a heck of a season.
Nürburgring combined is round 7, April 23rd, April 30th it would be on that track, so yeah, we look forward to that too. But Aitor, congratulations on P4 today, and is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Well, as usual, guys, amazing broadcast. So thank you, guys, family, friends, for watching. And cheers, guys. Congratulations to, I think, JDS. I think it's his first broadcast win. So congratulations to him. And thanks, guys, and see you next week at Portugal.
That was Aitor Santos Galindo, 4th position in the GTPs. Joe?
That's going to wrap us up today. So a big thank you to the IMSA Vintage community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also, thanks to the team today, Adam, Daniel, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. But don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Like we said, we got a brand new track next time, Portimao. That'll be Saturday, March 30th at noon Eastern. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.